Hello to the Chess Chicos and the Chess Chicas. I'm coming at you with an absolute belter today. I was researching material for a Chessable course and I came across this sensational game, and I thought, well, it might not make it for Chessable, but it certainly will make it to YouTube. So here I am presenting to you the game between Felix Izeta against his grandmaster opponent Yevgeny Vladimirov. The opening is going to be the Queen's Gambit accepted, and it's gonna be this funky a6 line where black tries to hang on to the pawn. Izeta is not particularly phased, plays e4, challenging immediately the pawn chain. Bishop b7, knight c3, and b4. This is a very unfortunate choice in my opinion, by Vladimirov, who perhaps should have played the uglier but more sturdy c6 or even e6 actually, but b4 just looks, it reminds me actually very strongly of the famous Alekhine Öve game, Nodai Classics, not that it's there, but it will make it there, where Alekhine just sacked the piece on c4, and it was absolute carnage afterward. And here there are quite similar motifs at play, although this one is a heap easier because after b takes c3, we come with queen b3 and it's an immediate mop-up. It's all over red rover. The bishop on b7 is hanging, as is f7, and note that f7 is not like, oh yeah, and then we take g8. No, that's a mate threat, right? So remember that you always go after the boss, and that's a checkmate. So hence the knight is immune to capture, and so the black queenside pawn chain fell apart, and now it's a very unpleasant position to defend. Now, after knight c6 we reach a critical position where a lot of players would go wrong with white, because they would identify two threats, knight a5 and knight d4, and they would prioritize the d4 threat, whereas it's clearly knight a5 that hurts more, because that eliminates this super cool bishop. It kicks the queen, so we go, not happening. And that's exactly what Izeta played as well. He played a5, cutting out the knight a5 but allowing knight d4. Speaking of the devil, this is what black should have played. And after knight takes bishop b3, queen maybe d7, and then pawn f3, securing the e3 pawn, still not worrying about the c3 knight, would have landed white in a position where, although he's a pawn down, but boy, is there a lot of play for it. Anyway, Vladimirov thought it was his time to be cute, and after a5, he decided to go on a absolutely wild idea, and he took on c3, and he went knight b4, and he went like, gotcha, mate! I have got knight c2 coming, and I have got a rook b8, rook a8, constant perpetual attack on your queen. Draw at the worst, thought the black player. White player went like, I know ChessCoachAndras' courses. It's time to castle, baby, and pretend it's all G, because it is all G. And now came, of course, the cold shower that after rook b8, white does not have to accept at all the very sad draw by repetition scenario. Nay, he just went like, queen is hanging, fine, no worries, we'll leave it hanging then for a little bit longer, because that's how cool players play this game. And now this fascinating queen sack is going to create a marvelous scenario on the board, which is very rare, by the way, in chess literature. And that is that there is no immediate kill afterward. So usually when we see a queen sack, it's often immediately followed by a checking sequence. And even if that sequence is really long, you can see that, you know, there is a very clear direction where the game is headed after the queen sack. Less so here, because after let me just go back a bit so that I'm in line. Because after rook takes, bishop takes, black has a fairly wide range of moves, and the biggest problem is actually the pawn running towards the base line. Let me show you right away a very cool line to demonstrate the main strategic element of white's sack. If in this position we go knight a6, then white has queen a6, takes check, and believe it or not, But here, it looks like white is losing because the queens are coming off and white is losing a piece. No. Queen is coming off, correct. White is losing, incorrect. A pawn is simply an unholdable force. Check this out. White is a piece down and it's like plus 10. Get out. Rook a8, rook b8, a7, rook a8. And I stopped here. I find this position hilariously funny. Because if you imagine the starting position, it looks like black only played one move. If we disregard, of course, the missing pieces. It really does look like only one pawn move was all that black managed to come up with. And after rook fb1, rook b8 is unstoppable. Time to pack it back in the box and, yeah, start playing tic-tac-toe instead. Very rough. Very, very rough ride. And even probably more cruel and brutal was the game with rook takes, bishop takes, and Izeta went like, well, you might be a queen up, but look at my pieces, bro. I'm dominating the board, the bishop, the knight, the other bishop, the pawn rolling in, the rook covering the pawn, the other rook coming to the fray. What's happening with the back rank fest, Mr. Grandmaster? Asks Izeta, not so much verbally, but by his moves. And indeed, there's nothing to be done. Queen b8 was played, a6 was played, and this is where insult to injury is our motto, because after knight a6, which seemingly does cause a bit of trouble for white because there are two bishops hanging, Izeta went, not a problem. Check, king e7, and rook b1. Take a bow, Izeta Chabari, or Felix Izeta Chabari, to quote his full name. The Spanish IM at the time just absolutely dominates the heck out of the board, and his opponent forces, who has got a wayward knight, a miserably placed queen, an even more miserable black king. Wow, if only I could highlight things. And the rest is just yuck, yuck, yuck. Nothing can move. Here are a few simple lines about how hopeless the position is. If knight b4, then comes rook a8, and after knight takes c6, we take b8. Sorry, we go check first, and then we take b8, and it's a really silly situation when pretty much everything is hanging for black, and rook b8 is winning for white, bishop takes f8 is winning for white, and even bishop b2, which is that's a ridiculously looking move, also does win. So it just doesn't matter what we do here. I did have a very, very cool line here somewhere with knight c6. Yeah, let's go back to this one. Yeah, that was actually the game, I think. No, the game was f6. So let's have a look at this. Yeah, queen b6 line here. So it was knight b4, rook a8, and queen b6. Yeah, let's go back to that. So knight b4, rook a8, queen b6. And here the engine uncorks the absolutely sensational d5. And again, you just go like, what? Like, what's going on? We're queen down and we're just casually moving a pawn up in the center, opening up the diagonal of the bishop and sort of tightening the screw around the black king. Just what a Chad move. And just a little example of how horrid black situation is. Knight f6, bishop d4, and the queen is trapped. Wow. Something else, let's try ed, why not? ed, knight f6, rook e1, and now it's a forced mate in blah. King d6, check, 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 and mate. Now this is the type of forcing line that you would expect to have on the board when you sack a queen, but there was a sort of an interval between the queen sack and the mate attack, and that interval was the build-up phase. So what's really cool about this game, what I really, really like, is that we sack the queen, and then we play 3 more moves, which don't necessarily carry, you know, immediate mate threats or those usual brutal threats. We just build up our position, and we'll take it from there. Yeah, last but not least, I will show you how the game went after bishop c6 check, king e7, rook b1. By the way, our main threat is bishop a3 check and go after the queen as well as taking the knight. So they played f6, rook takes a6 was played because we are stylish players. And after king f7, rook a8 again went after the queen. And I think that was the moment when Vladimirov resigned the game. I show you how it could have ended. Again, cruelty of the highest order. Queen b3, bishop check, almost mate. And after king e7, the engine likes d5 because the engine is basically a sadist on steroids. Like, this is just really, really cruel with the idea of bishop f6 and then rook b3. But the calm and measured bishop a3 check is what most human players would do, allowing, or rather forcing, queen takes a3, rook a3, king e8, rook check, followed by rook in, and yeah, just catastrophic finish. Once again, note that after 23 moves, all the black pieces are still on the back rank. A marvelous picture, a sensational queenside sack by Izeta Chabari, and he managed to then, yeah, just hold it together and defeat his opponent in a supremely awesome style. I really, really like this game because, yeah, like I said, usually when a queen sack happens, there is some immediate follow-up, and here it was like, yeah, just a bit of a positional squeeze and having jolly fun against the 25-85 GM. Hello, what a game. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really hope that you guys are going to score one day a similarly sexy queen sack victory. I can't wait to see those games. Please don't forget to sub, to like, to super thank me if you can, and I'm going to be back with the next video soon. Thanks for watching.